Now it is. So let's go ahead and start today reclined on the spine. And if you've got some blocks nearby, make sure they're within arm's reach. We're just going to come off onto the spine. If you don't have any blocks, it's totally fine. You don't need them. When you come back onto the spine, do so slowly and intentionally so you're able to kind of feel the body ease back into the floor. And let's get those feet underneath the ankles, tuck the shoulder blades underneath, bringing them down the length of the spine. If you need to make any adjustments to the head, you can kind of grab a hold of the back of the head, interlacing the fingers gently behind the head, and hug the elbows in, letting the head drop down nice and slow. And what we're kind of doing is lengthening the skull away from the upper cervical spine, so the top of the neck. And then take those hands to the belly. I'm just gonna lay them right over the belly button. Make sure your feet are in a position to where the knees don't feel like they're putting much effort into staying here. And just notice the rise and fall of belly with breath. Not only the sensation in your body, but as also the feeling of the belly pressing into the hands as you inhale and falling away as you exhale. Allow the breath to sort of take on its own rhythm. Allow the face to soften, smoothing out of the forehead, the brow line, relaxing the temple, the jaw, that little space behind your ears, the throat. And the breath will naturally deepen on its own. So as you continue to breathe in, feeling how the breath flows maybe a little closer to the base of spine. And with each exhale, softening the body back into the support of the floor, bit at a time. Over the next few breaths, we're just going to kind of touch bases with the sensation of the feet connected to the floor. So rocking the weight back into the heels, we'll flex the feet and draw the toes back, widen through the toes as much as you can. And then as you exhale, grounding down through the ball of the foot, keeping the toes off of the floor, feeling that whole ball of foot, the outer edge and the inner edge make contact, keeping those heels down. And then as you exhale, root back down through the toes. You can kind of grip the mat with your toes here and then soften the toes, just feeling them press gently down. On an exhale, we'll scoop the tailbone under. So with contact of the feet into the floor, we're going to scoop the tailbone under. Go ahead and bring the hands down, palms facing the mat. So your bridge pose might look a little different than mine, might look little different than someone else's, right? We all have different bodies. So don't expect to come all the way into a bridge. If you stop here, that's a perfectly fine place to be. A little bit at a time. You're opening up those hip flexors, maybe the quadriceps a little bit, the psoas muscle deep in the belly. And if you find that those feet land a little further up the length of the mat than the knees, go ahead and walk those heels so they're back under the knees. One thing you want to be mindful of here is to not let those knees splay out wide. This puts too much compression in the low back, sacrum area. We want to really press up through the tailbone, scooping tailbone under, pubic bone pressing up. And glutes are working quite a bit. Try to relax if there's too much effort going on here. Reaching those fingertips towards the heels. Feel those shoulders move down the back. Let's take a couple big Buddha belly breaths. So really billow the belly out as you breathe in. This is fantastic toning. So really getting into that diaphragmatic breath is fantastic toning, not only for the belly muscles, but also for the diaphragm itself, helping us to take stronger and deeper breaths. And feel free to be audible with the sound of your breath. On your next exhale, peel those heels slowly off of the floor. We're going to lower down one vertebrae at a time very slowly so that you can feel it all the way through. You might get a couple snap, popple cracks. Snap. How does it go? The Rice Krispie guys? Snap, crackle, pop. There you go. You might get a couple snap, crackle, pops through the spine, which is fine. No forcing it, just kind of letting it happen. Once the sacrum is back to the floor, just let go. Any effort in the legs, let the knees rest in for a moment. Take a couple of breaths here. Over the next couple of breaths, bringing those knees back over the ankles. We're going to do it again. If you do have blocks, feel free to take a block when you come into your bridge pose on the inhale and let the sacrum rest over the block. If you're like, what is a sacrum? It's a triangular shaped bone down at the base, well, not really the base of your spine, the base of the lumbar spine. So we've got our neck, right, the cervical spine. We've got our thoracic spine, which is about here to here. And then we've got our sacrum, which is right above where the good Lord split you. So you'll feel it too. So if you've got a block and you're resting the sacrum over a block, you'll feel a secure, grounded, supportive feeling. If it's too high, you're going to feel your tailbone tipping down over the front edge. If it's too low, you're going to feel like you're tucking quite a bit. So finding that middle ground. And again, if you don't have blocks, it's not necessary. If you do have a firm blanket or a firm pillow, you can always use that. It's just nice to be at ease and have those hips above the heart. This is an inversion. This helps with blood flow. So let's just take a few breaths. Now, if you find that you're a little bit more flexible, you might want to take 2 blocks and come into a higher supported bridge. And again, if you have nothing you can use for support for this, just come up into a bridge, take a few breaths, exhale down 1 vertebrae at a time. We'll come up on an inhale and exhale 1 vertebrae at a time. I'm so sorry about my voice. I'm not sick. I was singing very loudly a few times over the last week. So if you are over support of some sort, I want you to feel your belly soften back. I want you to feel how the organs sort of surrender to gravity and move up towards the heart. This is an organ massage. So coming into bridge, coming down, coming into supported bridge, and taking some time here. Gravity helps to press the intestines. Everything kind of presses up towards the heart. And the heart gets a much needed massage. It works really hard, pumping all that blood through our body all the time. We need to keep the heart muscle itself replenished and healthy as well. So take some big Buddha belly breaths in and imagine your heart. You can imagine it as the actual organ, or you can imagine the shape of a heart and think of loving compassion, whatever works for you as far as a visual. But I want you to know that your heart is happy to support your life. Every tiny little cell that makes up your being is like jumping for joy when you come to your practice and you take deep breaths and you get with self and you take that time to show your self-care and compassion. Couple more breaths here. If you are not using support, go ahead and exhale one vertebrae down at a time. If you are using some type of support, on your next inhale, press the pubic bone up a little bit higher, slide the support out from underneath, and as you exhale, lower down one vertebrae at a time. Take a few breaths here to just feel what's happening in the body. With a couple big Buddha belly breaths, diving deeper into that sensation. And on your exhale, we're going to hug the knees into the belly. Let's cross right ankle over left and grab a hold of the outer edges of the feet, drawing them towards the hips. You don't need to get really close to the hips. It doesn't matter how deep you go. If this is tough to grab a hold, what you can do is get a belt or a strap or a towel and just wrap them around the outer edges of your feet. We don't want the shoulders coming off of the mat. Oh no. And taking a couple big breaths here. Every exhale, squeezing those legs just a bit deeper. As you exhale, extend the legs overhead. Let's flex those feet. Point through the ball of the foot, toes reach back, and then point into the toes. If you get a Charlie horse, just shake it out. Exhale to flex, toes reach back, pointing into the ball of the feet, toes still reaching back, and then pointing into the toes. Let's do this 3 more times, and then we'll switch the cross of the legs. Exhale, toes towards shin, flexing feet, pointing into the balls of the feet, and then pointing into the toes. So everything that happens in the chain of your body can manifest in your feet. Anybody who's ever been to a chiropractor has probably heard that one before. But just being mindful of the feet can help us to find imbalances in our own body and correct them. But we need that awareness, right? Which is why the somatic aspects of the yoga practice are so helpful for awareness of the physical body. Let's do that twice more. And after the second time, if you're feeling an urge to kind of just roll through the ankles, go for it. Make sure we go in both directions. And on an exhale, let's switch the cross of the legs. So left shin crosses over right, and we grab a hold of the outer edges of those feet and hug those feet towards the hips. And this time, let's give it a little rock, left to right. So the sacrum, we want that sacrum on the floor so that you can feel this in the piriformis. Piriformis is a little muscle that runs underneath the sacrum and attaches to the top of the thigh bones. So it gets a lot of action. And it's the muscle that if it gets too tight, if it is too inflamed, it can put pressure on the sciatic nerve. So anybody who has pain in the sciatic nerve or suffers from sciatica, you really want to find some stretches to open that up, and that's kind of what we're starting with today. Make sure you're breathing. I know I'm not the only one. Sometimes I'm concentrating on something and I realize I haven't taken a breath in a while. I mean, of course, not too long. It's an autonomic response, but there are those moments where you're thinking real hard and you realize, oh gosh, when's the last time I took a breath? So if that happens, if you're kind of following along the cues and what did she say? And, focused, Just if you notice that you're not breathing or you're not breathing deeply, just come back to the breath. Breath is number one. On an exhale, go ahead and extend those legs overhead, flex those feet, grab a hold of the back of the hamstrings or backs of the knees. And just depending on how much flexibility you have in the back of the legs, you may want to bend the knees, right? So if the legs are shaking here and it's tough to draw those legs a little bit closer without popping the hips up, then bend the knees some. You just want to feel a gentle stretch in the hamstring, not, not go big or go home on this one. On your exhale, release those heels towards the bum. We're going to drop both knees off to the left. Left arm is going to rest over the outer edge of the right knee. Right arm drops out wide. Gaze will move over the right shoulder. So here, we're going to just hang out here in the twist. But if you're feeling a pulling in this low back or the hip buttock area, that may be your piriformis. Could be the IT band as well. If it's too much, take anything. It can be anything, a stuffed animal, a pillow, a jacket, and place it in between the thighs. This is driving me crazy. I love all my plants. They're amazing. It looks big in here, but it's really not that big. So anything you've got, you can place in between the knees. If that's not enough support, what you'll want to do is take something and place it underneath the outer left thigh as well. Okay? And get with your breath here. If you like to move your body and you like a good flow, don't worry, we're going to get there today. We're just going to start slow with some body awareness and opening of the hips and the shoulders before we get moving. And I know if you're someone who really likes flow, I'm that way. I'm more of a yang energy most of the time. But yin is important too. And the difference, yang energy is that get up and go, that hot, that let's do it kind of energy. And yin is more subdued, more soft, more quiet, more mellow. It's the mellow energy. We need both in life. I'm sure I'm speaking to the choir. But give yourself these next few breaths to just be. To be with what is, to be with your sensation, to be with breath. And on your next exhale, we're going to extend those legs long. If you're tight in the backs of the legs, you may notice the legs slide down. Just bend the knees a little bit instead of letting those legs slide down. And keep as much extension through the legs as you can. 2 more breaths here. And on an exhale, we're going to press into the right fingertips, just reaching out long. And exhale to roll back off onto the spine. You may want to tap those toes down and find center of mat again. And as you exhale, hugging the knees in, rock both knees off to the right. Left arm moves out wide, palm face up, gaze moves over left shoulder. Right hand to the outside of left knee. Now you may notice this side is different. Maybe this side's tighter, maybe it's looser. We're all like that. You could bring the block or any support you need underneath the right leg, in between the thighs, or both. If you need that much support, it's totally cool. I have days like that. Another thing I've been thinking of lately is we tend to kind of get hard on ourselves if we're not practicing enough, or we're not getting into our routine enough, or life has its ebbs and flows. And it could be easy to kind of get on our own back, be our own worst critic, and you really need to do this. We don't need to do anything. We really don't. I mean, the outcome of not doing some of the things that we do We might not want to live that outcome, but we do have choice in every situation. So I think remembering that sometimes is freeing. And also remembering that there is an ebb and flow in life, and it's okay to not always be on point. That's the real point I'm trying to get at. So give yourself the freedom to step outside of that box and just be here now with sensation. And a couple more big Buddha belly breaths. And when you're ready on your exhale, extending both legs out. I'm going to use the wall because I don't want to kick my rocks over. But your feet are going to be, the outer edge of the right foot will be on the ground, and you're extending those legs long, keeping the toes flexed or feet flexed and feet right in line with one another. Sometimes there's a tendency of one leg to push out a little further. Just try to keep those legs together, unless you know you have one leg longer. I do. I guess my left leg is a half an inch longer. No doubt something in my pelvis. And things can change if you've had children. I mean, growing in your body, if you've had injuries, if you've had any surgeries, things shift around, you lose space. A couple more breaths. And on your exhale, hugging the knees back into the belly. You can use the feet to kind of walk yourself back to center. Let's take some little knee circles on an inhale. Let the knees drop out wide, hands onto knees. As you exhale, bringing the knees to center and hugging them into the chest. Inhaling, knees wide. Down, and exhaling, knees together into the chest. Let's do this twice more, and then we'll switch the direction. So you want to be inhaling as the knees move away from the body, because there's more space for the belly to expand. And as you are bringing those knees closer to the body, exhaling. On your next exhale, we're going to go ahead and let those feet drop back onto the floor. Let's take another bridge pose here. So inhaling into your bridge. Take a couple of breaths. And don't be afraid to let that belly stick way out like a big old Buddha. Next, exhale, peeling the heels off the floor, lower down one vertebrae at a time. Now hug the knees in, kick the legs back, and exhale, floating your way forward. If it takes a few tries to come all the way back up to seated, go for it. And if you need to end up rolling over to the side and pressing up to seated, that's fine as well. Soles of the feet together, knees apart. Make sure the inner mounds of the feet, the mounds of the big toes are pressing in together, as well as the outer edges of the balls of your feet. We're going to peel the toes away from one another. So sometimes I'll read a book like this, right? And the inner edges of my feet fall apart, but I want you to feel those feet all the way together. Both are fine in your own practice, but for this practice today, keep those soles of feet together. We're going to start flapping the legs, peace fingers to your big toes or hands holding onto the ankles, whatever's most comfortable for you. If you're feeling like you're scrunching forward to be here, sit on a block or sit on a folded blanket. And allow the breath to draw all the way down into the low belly. Start flapping those legs. At some point, letting go a little bit of the head, the face, letting everything kind of bobble along the legs. If it's feeling more of a challenge to press down, work more towards that. If it's feeling more of a challenge to press up through the legs, work more towards that. And on your next exhale, we're going to stop moving. Notice the sensations you feel in your body. As you exhale, float the weight back into the sit bones. We're going to float the feet off of the floor and start to extend those legs out wide. Press into the balls of the feet so your legs are active, your feet are active. And again, your legs don't have to be fully extended. If you're really tight in the hamstrings, you're probably going to want to bend the knees quite a bit. And if balance is tough, if you find yourself rolling back, it happens. That's how it starts. You can always bring the feet down and just float them up and start working on that balance first, right? And then maybe you're ready and you're staying here for a while. And we're working on lifting that heart up. So you're activating the belly, you're floating the heart away from the ribs. And as you exhale, if the legs are fully extended, bring those feet together. Take a couple of breaths here. If your legs are not fully extended, you can bend the knees and have them here. It's a little harder to stay balanced, I think. And on your next exhale, bending the knees towards the armpits, soles of the feet onto the floor. We're going to reach the arms forward. Take a big breath in here. As you exhale, just kind of using momentum to rock those hands forward. If you're like, I'm not even coming on off the ground, I'm glued. It takes a while for the body mechanics to kind of, muscle memory stick in there. At some point, rocking all the way into your forward fold. Shake out the head. Let all that unnecessary tension go. On your inhale, extend the spine nice and long. As you exhale, belly spills over top thighs. We're going to sit right down into the chair, knees track over ankles. Inhale those arms overhead. Sit down into your chair pose. Take a breath here. On your next inhale, shoot to standing on the right leg, left knee into the chest. Exhale, right arm forward, left arm back. Big breath in here. Feel the expanse through your chest as you reach through right fingertips and left. As you exhale, bring those hands back to prayer. Come to center and bring the left foot to inner right thigh. I know we went from super mellow to like right into it. Inhale the arms overhead. Exhale, left leg back. We're going to come into extended warrior 3. Just a breath here. And then exhale that left foot back into a lunge. Inhale into your crescent lunge. As you exhale, scoop the tailbone under. Next, exhale, swim those hands down alongside the right foot. We're going to step the left foot forward to meet the right and inhale halfway up. Exhale the dangle, spill belly, heart, and head. Inhale halfway up. As you exhale, sit down into the chair, belly comes to top thighs. Next inhale, arms reach overhead. Take a breath or two here. And on your next inhale, we're going to shoot to standing on the left leg. Right knee comes in towards chest. Exhale to twist the belly off to the right. Right arm back, left arm forward. And then take a breath here, really active through the fingers and the arms, keeping those shoulders away from the ears. If you have tight shoulders here, you may want to bend the elbows towards the back body. Whoop. Inhaling arms overhead. As you exhale, bring the hands to prayer and right foot to inner left thigh, coming right into your Vrikshasana, tree pose. So one of the best ways to encourage the body to stay stable here, aside from keeping your gaze focused and, don't lose that sense of focus. If you do, you're likely to get wobbly. But aside from that, this pressing of the palms, the pressing of thigh to foot and foot to thigh, That's the idea, is to bring everything towards center, sort of like a vacuum seal. Everything comes towards center. On an inhale, the arms will reach overhead. Exhale, right leg back, coming through that extended warrior three. Take a breath here. And exhale, right foot back. Inhale right into the crescent lunge. Left knee is moving towards pinky toe side of the left foot. Right heel is reaching back towards where the wall and the floor meet behind you. So if you need to make any adjustments, go for it. And on an exhale, we're going to sweep those hands back to the floor. Step right foot forward to meet the left and inhale halfway up. Exhale to dangle. Inhale, reverse swan dive all the way up. Exhale, hands to prayer. Scoop the tailbone gently under, pubic bone to navel. Press down into the feet. Feel the thigh bones pressing back. Lift up through heart. Inhale the arms overhead. You don't have to come into a super impressive deep back bend here. Keep your lower back safe. You need it. Inhale, coming back to rise. Exhale to swan dive forward. Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway up. As you exhale, we're going to plant the hands to the top of the mat, even if that means bending the knees. Walk, step, or jump both feet back into your plank. Take a big breath in here. If you need to, you can bring those knees down. Heels towards the bottom, so you have a straight line from the knees, hard to show here, from the knees all the way up the length of the spine. If you're bending at the hips, just bring pubic bone towards the floor. On exhale, elbows hug the rib cage, coming all the way to the mat. Inhale into your cobra. Exhale back into child's pose. Let's take the knees to the width of the mat here. Let the sit bones rest back towards heels. If the soles of your feet need a good stretch, tuck the toes for your child's pose. Next, exhale, rolling through your cat, tucking tailbone, scooping the chin towards pubic bone. Inhale to arch the spine. As you exhale, tuck the toes if they aren't already and come back into your downward facing dog. Next, exhale, tuck the tailbone, scoop little belly back. We're gonna roll like an ocean wave all the way to the top of our plank. On your inhale, roll to the outside of the right foot, sweeping left arm overhead. Exhale into that side body stretch. Inhale, side plank. We're gonna exhale through plank and inhale right to the other side, outer left foot, sweeping right arm across the chest and reaching overhead. As you exhale, flex your right foot, draw those toes up to the sky as high as you can, and then bend right knee, stepping the right foot forward alongside the left hand. Back toes turn into a lunge. If you don't get it right the first time, hey, use the help that you've got available in the rest of your limbs to get there. Inhaling, right arm overhead, coming into a twist. Back knee can come down if you need. On exhale, sweep right arm alongside right leg. Inhale, both arms overhead. Exhale, back foot into the warrior. So back toes turn out to about a 45-degree angle. Heart is still facing forward. Exhale in a warrior two. Inhale to reverse your warrior. As you exhale, straighten the right leg. We're going to fold at the right hip crease. Right hand will come wherever it lands. We want to keep the right side body nice and long. Inhaling, left arm overhead. Exhale to bend right knee towards pinky toe side. Right elbow can come onto the right thigh, or right palm can float out to the center of the room, depending on which one you want to do. This is more work. This is less work. Left arm sweeps overhead either way. And 3 breaths here. As you exhale, both hands release to the inner right foot. Turn all 10 toes halfway to your left and inhale halfway up. As you exhale, just dangle the spine, let everything go. The stress, your to-do list, all your labels, expectations, and judgments. Just be a person here. Be a human in a shape. Let everything else fall away. If you can smell it, if you can taste it, if you can feel it in your body, pay attention to that. Inhale halfway up. Exhale to turn all 10 toes back off to the right. Step your left foot forward to meet right and inhale halfway up. Exhale to dangle. Inhale, reverse swan dive all the way up. Exhale to scoop the tailbone under. You can bring those hands down to prayer if this feels better in the shoulders for you, or maybe helps you to open up the heart a little bit more. Big breath in, and as you exhale, swan dive forward, Uttanasana. Inhale halfway up. And as you exhale, plant those hands, even if you have to bend the knees to do so. Walk, step, or jump, both feet back. Big breath in at the top of your plank, knees down if you need them. Exhale through chaturanga all the way to the mat, inhaling into our cobra or baby cobra. So here's baby cobra, which if you've got any back things going on right now, baby cobra is best. Keeps a little movement in the spine without overdoing it. Next, exhale, pressing back to child's pose, making sure to leave a little space for the ribs and the belly. And on your next exhale, tucking tailbone, roll through your cat. Inhale to arch the spine, lifting sit bones up into your cow. As you exhale, tuck the toes, press back into downward facing dog. Next exhale, rolling. So letting the tailbone kind of be the impetus of the action. You want to tuck the tailbone under, roll through low belly, mid belly, shoulders, coming all the way to the heart and the head. At the top of your plank, wrists, elbows, shoulders stack up. On your inhale, roll to the outside of, roll to the outside of the left foot on the inhale, sweeping right arm above. On exhale, take that side body stretch, right arm reaches overhead. Inhale back to center, exhale through plank, and inhale right to the other side. Left arm overhead. On this side, exhale that left foot up, 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 up. Left toes flex, reaching towards the sky. Bend that left knee and step that left foot forward. Back toes in a lunge, left arm reaching overhead. And we don't just have the arm hanging out here like, hey, I'm a puppet, right? That arm is reaching, 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 active. As you press away into the right arm, you'll feel this really expansive space across the heart. Exhale, left hand down, sweeping up, rise into your crescent lunge on the inhale. As you exhale, back toes turn out to a 45-degree angle. Just a little tip on warrior stances. So warrior one, warrior two, as well as triangle pose. And I'm not going to say the other ones. Parsvottanasana, And revolve triangle, yes. But most people's bodies need a wider stance in those postures. So we'll just stick to warrior one, warrior two, since we're doing those in this flow. Warrior one and warrior two, you want to line up the front heel with back heel, or front heel with back arch of your foot. That's usually the safest stance. If you need a little wider stance, like you have wider hips, you have tighter hips, you've had a hip replacement and you just need to give a little more room to breathe to your hips, hook your back foot as far as toes to the edge of the mat. Swear. Nice little cheats to kind of remember. And in that back foot, we're really pressing into the outer edge of the foot. We're working on getting the hips towards the front of the room, but it's probably never going to be perfect. Exhale into warrior two. The only thing that changes from warrior one to warrior two is the torso turns. The hips are pretty much in the same position. They open up a little bit naturally, but don't let this left knee drop in. Inhale to reverse your warrior. Feel the length from left hip through left fingertips here. Exhale to straighten out the left leg, fold at left hip crease, and come into your triangle pose. Exhale to bend left knee, left elbow onto the left thigh, or left palm floating to the middle of the room. Inhale, right arm overhead, an extension from the right heel. If you get really shaky at any point, I don't recommend bouncing, but I do recommend what I call bending and extending. This helps us to kind of make the connection in the muscles, from the tendons to the ligaments to the synapses that help us to move the body. So here, I was just a little shaky, which is why I bring it up. Just bending and pressing down into that front foot. I build strength this way. I build stability, but not this. You want to control, just like a personal trainer would tell you, you want to control the moving away, the eccentric and I forget the other word. Concentric? No. Basically, the moving away from the lifting and the lifting itself. You want to control both. All right. On exhale, spill that left side body. Both hands come back down to the mat. Back toes turn into a lunge. You're going to step the right foot forward. Inhale, halfway up. And on your exhale, dangle the spine, Uttanasana. My plants are starting to take over my room. Dangling the spine. Weight is in the balls of the feet here. So one way to know if your weight is in the balls of the feet, if you can't quite feel it yet, if you look in a mirror sideways when you're in your forward fold, and if you were to draw a straight line vertically from your sit bones to the floor, and your sit bones land behind your heels, your weight's in the heels. Bringing the weight into the balls of the feet can be felt sort of like, let's lift our heels off the mat as if we were going to slip a piece of paper in them and keep them there. This is what you want your body to feel like, only the heels are down. That's a forward fold, Uttanasana, at least traditionally. Inhaling halfway up. On your exhale, let's sit back down into that chair. Peel the belly up off of the top thighs. Arms reach overhead. Exhale, hands down to prayer. Right elbow to the outside of your left knee. So we've only got a little bit longer, but let's just play with an arm balancing posture. If you're a little bit nervous to do it, it's all good. You can watch and just kind of play along and maybe think about trying it. So hands come to prayer here. Here we are in our Utkatasana, Parvrita, revolved chair pose or fierce pose. Sit that weight down into the heels. But didn't she just say in the balls of the feet? Yes, for forward folds, balls of the feet, and in this chair pose, back into the heels. You're really anchoring back into those heels. On an exhale, we're going to now bring the weight into the balls of the feet. Bring the bottom down towards the heels. And then drop your hands off to the left. If your hands touch the ground, then follow along with the next step. If they don't, just kind of keep reaching, maybe bring a block into it or a stool or a chair or whatever you have and hang here. This is a nice side body opener. And if you ask me, we could all use more side body opening. So if your hands are on the floor, let's see if your palms can come to the floor. Let me push that down a little so you can actually see me. There's like a bar on my end on the bottom, and I'm not sure if you guys can actually see what I'm doing or not, so I'm just making sure. We're gonna come into side crane, Bakasana. So your hands come to the floor. We wanna keep that right elbow to the outside of left knee, and then we're going to bend left elbow to the left hip. Walk those feet away from the hands and find your balance. If it's scary, most of the coolest, best things that happen in life are, right? And on the other side of that fear is freedom. So if it's scary and you want to put a pillow in front of you so that if you fall, you land on the pillow instead, do that. When I first started doing side crane, here's what I did. I brought my head to the floor so that I could find that balance. Just playing with it. One more time, give it a little try here. And even if you're just kind of dropping that weight and keeping the feet on the floor for safety's sake, that's okay too. If this just doesn't feel good to your body, then just come back into the chair for a couple more breaths, maybe lighten your load a little bit and extend the arms. Open it back up. All right, we're going to come right into our forward fold and make it to the other side. Inhale all the way up, scoop the tailbone under. Hands come down to prayer. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale to swan dive forward. Uttanasana, weight in the balls of the feet here. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale to sit down into your chair. Weight drops back into the heels for your chair. Inhale, peeling it up. Exhale, hands to prayer. Left elbow, right knee. Sitting down. Feeling the twist. Anytime we're taking a twist in the spine, we want to be sure that on inhale, we are lengthening our spine, and on exhale, we're allowing the body to gently rotate around the spine. And as you exhale, peel the heels off the floor, weight into the balls of the feet, drop the bottom towards the heels. This is not easy. This by itself is not easy. Balancing on the balls of the feet, bringing the bottom towards the heels. Or maybe it is easy. It's not easy for me. On an exhale, bring those hands down to the right side of your body, to the floor. If they don't meet the floor, bring something to bridge that gap. On an exhale, ground down through all 10 fingers and the palms. The right elbow will bend into that right hip, right side body. And you rock the weight into the hands. At some point, the feet float off of the mat. Maybe you've got the head down. And even if you want to extend the legs and really play with it, you can. Take breaks as you need. Nobody said you had to hold a pose for 10 minutes or even 2 seconds. Just playing around. One more try. And then we're going to come back into a nice long Shavasana. And if you fall, you fall. I was teaching a class the other day and decided to teach headstand, and I fell out of headstand in the middle of teaching a class. It happens sometimes, no matter how long you've been practicing. I think that's where like the dissipation of our ego comes in the practice. All right, on exhale, you're gonna come back into that chair with a twist. You're going to dangle the spine. And feel free to find what feels best for you in the hands. Few options: backs of hands to the floor alongside the feet, or palms face up underneath the feet, the balls of the feet. Or holding on to elbows. Or interlacing those fingers back behind you. On your next exhale, wherever you are, we're going to roll it on down one vertebrae at a time. Bring the bottom onto the floor. Hug those knees. Coming into our cosmic dog. Not cosmic dog. Cosmic egg. Long time ago, I used to teach at a studio called Cosmic Dog. On your exhale, float the weight to the sit bones. We're going to roll it back. And maybe forward. And maybe we're going to awkwardly find our way to sit bones or fall off to the side, and that's okay. That's the beautiful thing about being a human being. We all get awkward sometimes. And at some point, you'll land on your spine. You'll extend the legs back like you're coming into plow. Whatever's comfortable with the hands. Sometimes it's a little more stabilizing to have the palms face down alongside the hips. And then hug the belly muscles in as you lower those legs down with control. Or the spine down and then the legs with control. As you exhale, heel toe the feet to the width of the mat. Let's let the arms rest up like a cactus. And drop the knees up to the right, gaze moves over left shoulder. Big Buddha belly breaths. Every exhale, just shaking it out, letting go of whatever's in the way. Not in the way of joy, not in the way of suffering, but whatever's in the way of just existing, of feeling and seeing with clarity. Exhale to the other side. And then exhale, let's do each side one more time. Knees to the right, gaze to the left. And other side one last time. Over these next few breaths, let's bring the knees back over the ankles. Hug them in for a minute. Maybe take some little circles with the knees, massaging that sacrum. And on an exhale, release the feet to the mat. Tuck the shoulders underneath if you need. Reset the hips if you need. If you have lower back pain, boop, boop. If you have lower back pain, please get yourself a bolster. If you don't have a bolster and you have a foam roller, foam rollers work well. If you have an extra yoga mat, you can use an extra yoga mat. If you don't have any of these, pillows are just fine. Anytime you have lower back pain or back hip pain, side hip pain, it's good to support yourself when you're laying on the spine, when you're laying supine. So this helps to take the pressure off of that low back. And honest to goodness, intentionally relaxing in Shavasana with support under the knees. I have suffered from back injuries. I think when I first started teaching these classes, I had a spasm. But on and off through the years, I've had back issues. And, that's just from being a crazy kid when I was younger and hurting myself. And it just comes back to haunt me sometimes. And when I approach it with tender, loving care, it heals up in less than a week, maybe 2. So take the time, All right, if you don't have any back issues and Shavasana is super comfortable, you're probably already there waiting for me to be quiet. Let's take a big breath in and hold it. As you exhale, allow everything to sink back and down and fall away. Follow the breath. Relax the face and jaw, the scalp, the neck. The weight of the arms and legs sinks deep into the earth beneath you. The organs sink back towards the spine. Shavasana literally means corpse pose. Sometimes it can be helpful to tell yourself, play dead. Just let it all go. Allow these next few breaths to draw in a bit deeper. Bringing the inhales all the way into the tips of your toes, into fingertips. And whenever you're ready, take your time to first move fingers, toes. At some point, gently bending one knee at a time. This is a good place to take a little morning stretch, reaching the arms overhead, whatever way feels best for your body to stretch out. And taking your time, roll off to one side or the other. Gently pressing up to a seated position when you're ready. And take a few moments here to just check in with self. Notice how you're feeling. Notice the quality of breath. And I find whenever my mind gets too busy, it can be helpful to just drop back down into what really matters. And it's really only in this present moment. Everything else becomes trivial when we're able to drop into the most basic importances. When you're ready, we'll bring those hands to prayer position at the heart. Namaste.